Jackie. Welcome to Book Talk. With me today is Charlie Smith. Charlie is an Army veteran. He is a peer support specialist, and he's an author. Thanks for coming on the show today, Charlie.
Thank you, Nikki. Thank you.
So, I've got your book here. It's great, Addiction, Recovery, and Coping Skills. This is the workbook. And I understand that you write a lot about PTSD, about addiction, and about recovery. Now,
yes.
This is coming from a very personal place for you, isn't it?
Yes, I've had post-traumatic stress since I was 6 years old.
Wow.
Undiagnosed until I was around 30.
It's a long time to go undiagnosed.
Yeah, I only became diagnosed because I became a homeless veteran.
Really?
And yes, and I found the VA system when I was homeless, and they helped me to get back on my feet and to figure out what was going on with me, which was post-traumatic stress.
I can imagine that having a diagnosis would just, I don't know, maybe open up some doors. And
Definitely, yeah.
Was there a point there where there was like a turning moment, or would you say it was more of a gradual kind of coming to terms with the disorder?
When I first became homeless and I first went into the VA system and I went into veteran shelters, I found out that I wasn't alone, which was huge.
Oh, yeah.
You know, seeing everybody else struggling just as I was big, and that opened my eyes.
Sure.
You know, I had a tough life. I was orphaned at 11 years old. I went through a lot of stuff that's going to be out in a book, actually coming out in a month or two.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. But I really just started picking myself up after that. You know.
What made you decide to go into the Army?
I was dabbling in different stuff that I shouldn't be dabbling into. And my aunt that I live with told me, get out, get a job, and don't come back.
Wow.
And which was rightfully so at the time. But I then went in and I signed up for the Army. My father was in the Army, his father was in the Army. I have a long line of military, as I was telling my 7-year-old son the other day. Yeah. But
a long line of service.
Yes, yeah. But yeah, that's when I joined up, and I stayed in for 3 years, excelled in the Army Infantry.
So what prompted you to start helping other people, using your story to help them overcome their own challenges?
Well, when I got back on my feet, I started a nonprofit. And I don't have that anymore, but I started one called Karma Consultants, Inc. And that was helping veterans and their families in domestic violence situations, because there was a lot of soldiers coming back and bringing the war with them.
Sure.
And I have experience as a private investigator. I have experience as a security consultant in a lot of different areas of life experience. And I just created that, and then that turned into running programs for like Veterans Inc., which I'm going to be doing in a couple of weeks. I'm going to be running a program for them on PTSD. And places like Jeremiah's Inn in Worcester, which is a addiction recovery center, and some other places. And that really opened my eyes, and that's when I started writing. I developed programs. And those programs are now my first 3 books in my Lifelong Experience series.
Okay.
I put them out on CreateSpace, which is now KDP.
Oh, okay.
Self-publishing.
Nice.
Yeah, and I had those set up, and then about a year and a half ago, I ran into a person that wrote over 40 books.
Wow.
Yeah, and she helped me get into a book signing with Barnes & Noble.
Oh,
like
that's great.
A year and a half ago.
Yeah.
And then I said, you know what, this is what I want to do. Mm-hmm. So that's actually my first book that I wrote as a book.
Okay, so this
sitting
is
down
the,
and
like
actually
the first
writing
one
a
in the
book.
Series, kind of.
That's the fourth one in this. It's kind of complicated.
Okay.
It's like Star Wars.
We went backwards and forwards.
4, 5, 6 came out before 1, 2, 3.
Hey, you know what? It worked for Star Wars.
Yeah, so maybe it'll work for me. But that's the fourth book in the series, but the first one that I actually wrote as a book.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah. Because the other ones are programs before.
I see. Yeah, and I noticed that you wrap workbooks into your series as well. So it gives people something to kind of follow along with and work on.
Even my self-protection book, it's got a bunch of questions for people to think about when they're out in the, when they're out in the real world. Like 78% of people go around unaware and unprepared.
Oh.
Of the
like
real
all the
world.
People I see on the subway with their headphones on.
Yeah, or people texting and driving. Or,
oh yeah, yeah. You're right. There's a lot of that.
Yeah.
So that was that's situational awareness, right?
That's the first book in the series.
Okay.
Yes. And then there was my trauma book, Operation TIP, I call it.
Yeah.
Trauma Informed Program Plus.
Okay.
Because it's got a lot more information than a normal trauma informed program does. Yeah, and then there's a positive thinking book, and then that book.
That's great. How have you found the self-publishing process? Is it difficult, or is it fairly easy to kind of get into?
It's easy to get into. I'm actually going to be switching, I think, from KDP to Ingram.
Okay.
Because Ingram, to me, has a lot more to offer.
Oh, sure.
Someone that's self-published, you got to pay like $50 to get it published, but like I can get that in hardcover and softcover and Kindle.
That's nice. So it gives you more options.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And do you sell any in sort of brick and mortar stores around?
I do. There's Annie's Bookstore in Worcester. There's Enchanted Passage. There's Book Lovers Gourmet. And there's one more that my books are in, and she's going to kill me that I'm forgetting her name. A new bookstore in Holden. I'm going to have to...
You'll probably think of it in a couple hours.
Yeah.
Be like, oh, that was it.
I mean, if I could look at my website. But they are all on my website, which is a good thing. Yes.
Perfect. That's great. Yeah. Send people to your website. It's all there. That makes it
Solstice
easy.
Gifts.
Solstice Gifts.
Yes. Yep. I just saved myself.
You did. Good job. She's over there. She's watching this video. Okay. You got it.
Solstice Gifts in Holden.
So you said this newest book, it's coming out in a couple months?
In about a month or two.
Okay, great. What's it going to be about?
The first 11 years of my life.
Wow. So it's sort of an autobiography.
Yeah.
Young age autobiography.
And I want to come out with 10 years of my life every year or so.
Okay, I see.
And in this book, I'm orphaned. My mother died when I was 6. My father died when I was 11. My father, when my mother died, brought us out to Texas and Arizona, and I learned what it was like to be the minority.
Yeah.
And
because you're originally from Massachusetts, right?
Yep. And when I was in Texas, I was in a city called Van Horn, or a town called Van Horn, and I was one of the only white kids.
Wow, really?
Yep. And then my father moved us to a Navajo reservation.
Really? Wow.
In Arizona. And I was one of the only white kids on a Navajo reservation.
Sure, yeah. That makes sense. Yep. But that would be a very jarring experience for a young child, especially after losing their mom and then moving from, the place that they've lived and grown up. So what sort of coping skills have you found that have helped you through your recovery process?
Well, I get up every day. I do yoga. I meditate. I work out every other day, probably run maybe 10 miles in a week.
Nice.
So exercise. I do martial arts, Shaolin Kempo Karate, Wing Chun, Ninjutsu.
Nice.
Yep.
I've always found I used to run quite a lot, and now I just, sort of try to keep on going. But yeah, like for my mental health, running is so much more important than it is for anything else. Heart, lungs, that's great, but in terms of keeping stress level down, it's always been running.
Yeah, just plug in the music and go.
Yeah, exactly. You kind of tune out everything else.
Yeah.
And you're able to kind of forget about all the other stuff that's bothering you at the time.
Yeah.
Now, I saw on your website you were working on a project for kids about bullying. Could you talk a little about that?
Operation Safety in Motion. And my first, the first time that's going to come out into, the media is going to be tonight in Millbury. I'm going to be talking about the program.
Great.
Next Thursday at 1 in the Millbury Library is going to be the first program.
Oh, cool.
And there's a lot of different places that are asking me about it.
So is this like an interactive program?
It is, yeah.
Nice.
And it teaches them situational awareness, learning what's around you and taking inventory, being aware, being alert, trying to get rid of that 78% of people that are unaware.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that if you can teach them that when they're young, that it's probably much easier to sort of instill the importance of that before they're 40 and hardwired into their habits.
Right. And then the bullying prevention part of it is teaching them to stand together. If you see someone that's being bullied, act.
Yeah.
Tell someone. Even, go over and if someone's bullying me and then there's other people coming around to support me, they're going to stop.
Oh, of course.
And you should try to talk to the bully too. See if you can be friends with them.
Yeah.
I mean, bullying is a learned behavior.
Right.
So is friendship. So if you are being bullied, talk to the person. Don't be nervous. Don't be shy. Try to be confident and just, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Can we talk instead of bullying me?
And I suspect that would disarm an awful lot of bullies. Just going through that process.
Because it's unexpected for one.
Right. Yeah. They don't expect somebody to stand up to them. And
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Exactly.
And bullying is such a big topic right now in the schools, and especially with social media, there's things that are going on outside of the schools and then coming back into the schools. And it's a topic that definitely needs to be addressed.
Yeah. In the internet, there's a lot of people being bullied on the internet.
Right. And they feel like they can get away with so much more because, they're not face to face with people.
Yeah. But I think a lot of people forget you have one ability on the internet, on Facebook, blocking.
Yep, turn it off.
Yeah, if somebody's bothering me on Facebook, block, forget. Just block them on Facebook and block them out of your mind.
Yes.
Because that's giving them power if they're bullying you and you're letting them bully you.
I assume that if they're getting, a response from you, that's probably fueling the fire.
Right. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Like a negative kind of response.
Yes. Yeah, that definitely does fuel the fire. If they're getting a response, that's what they want.
Yeah.
It's like I was watching a video yesterday on TED Talks on active shooters.
Oh, okay.
And they want to be famous.
Oh, sure.
People go in, shoot somebody because they want to be famous. And they know that their name's going to be plastered all over the place.
Right.
And the event's going to be, and that's going to be, they went from small to everybody knows their name.
Right.
And they were talking about just putting in the information that needs to be in there. Don't make this person famous.
Right, exactly. You know? If it's more of a, you know, factual statement here. And
because that's giving them power. That's what they want. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that book is going to be out in June. It's going to be a children's book.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And instead of having a boy or a girl, it's going to be a robot.
Oh, nice. That's
yeah. Yeah, my brother is doing all the illustrations for me.
Oh, great.
Yeah, yeah. And he's this robot is going to be called Sim because safety and motion.
Okay.
Yeah. And he's going to be dealing with a bad robot, and you're going to see what he does to get out of that situation.
Yeah.
And I'm going to put in a bunch of coping skills for kids. And I'm going to have information in the back for parents.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
I have a 4-year-old daughter, and it's funny how much she absorbs from books. You know, I tell her stuff, and she just blows me off. But when it's in a book, she seems to really latch on to it. So
right.
Yeah, that's terrific to write a children's novel or a book aimed at kids.
It's going to be my first. I'm thinking about that. And way in the future, having something like that, but related towards children.
Sure.
Young adults.
Yeah, kind of
teens.
the teenage
age
group.
Yeah.
I suspect that would be very useful.
Yeah, because I think that kids, they fall into a rut when they have something bad going on in their lives, like me being orphaned. And I didn't talk for 6 months after I came back from Massachusetts. I had to deal with that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and that made me angry. The anger, I didn't have a way to cope with it.
Right.
So I turned into, you know, doing negative coping skills.
Right.
You know, being angry, doing stuff I shouldn't be doing. I'm not going to talk about it on, you know.
Yeah, no, I totally understand.
But,
and, you know, teenagers that don't always quite have the judgment ability yet there either to kind of work through it like an adult might be able to. So I think having an external thing that would help them would be very useful.
And figuring out coping skills.
Yeah.
You know, because one of the things that put me in that direction to write that book is I worked at a Spectrum Detox.
Okay.
And I was a case manager. One of the questions that I had to ask my clients was, what coping skills do you have?
Oh.
A lot of them didn't have answers.
Yeah. And I mean, that's probably the crux of the problem right there. They don't have a way to cope with these issues.
Yeah. So writing a children's book like that is going to give people coping skills.
Yeah.
You know, they can figure out their own coping skills, because I can teach them yoga and meditation all day long, but if that don't work for them, then it's not going to do them any good.
Yeah, so much of this stuff is individual, and what works for one person's maybe not going to work for the next person.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you got to figure out what's going to work for you. Yeah.
So Charlie, tell me, what do you do when you're not writing and inspiring everybody?
Well, I work at Seven Hills. And I take clients out, like I took a guy out today. We went to Target and we went to GameStop.
Nice.
And, you know, hung out for a couple hours.
Yeah, that's good.
And there's a guy on Monday and Friday that I bring to do volunteer work. And then Wednesday and Friday I see another guy. It's all people with autism and different mental health conditions. And I just help them acclimate into society.
That's great.
Yeah.
Getting out and about. And doing sort of the stuff that we take for granted.
Yeah, because exactly. Yeah, we take, like going to Target, going to GameStop. You know, that's an everyday thing.
It's just something we would normally do.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
it's a big deal for somebody with autism. There's a lot going on there.
And they really appreciate what I do for them.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to hit on or talk about? Anything I missed?
Well, you asked what else I do. I also spend time with my kid every weekend, every Friday night. I get my 7-year-old.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, yeah. And I have him the weekend, and then I do what I got to do during the week.
Yeah. So tell me, what do you do in the winter? Because, boy, this winter you know, I've tried to take my daughter sledding, and then it rains and it's mud, and
right.
I'm looking forward to the summer.
Yeah, me too. I'm already planning a trip to Hershey Park.
Oh, fun! That's cool.
Yeah, and see my sister in Virginia.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, Hershey Park. That sounds like a good place.
Oh yeah.
Full of chocolate.
Yep. I went there like 10, maybe 15 years ago with a friend of mine, and it was awesome.
Nice. I've never been, but I like the idea. Yeah, we're planning camping trips and things for the summer. You know, beach camping, that sort of stuff. And
those
for the winter, it's a lot of indoor library and arcades and things like that.
Yeah, trying to find indoor activities, and because like you said, the sledding this season has not been good.
It has not. No, and you know what? I bought a pair of skis at the beginning of the winter because it was snowing like 2 or 3 times within a couple weeks, and I was like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna get some cross-country skis.
It's gonna be a bad winter.
It hasn't snowed at all.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, all right. Maybe that was like insurance against the snow, was buying skis. Or a new snowblower. You buy a new snowblower, it doesn't snow.
Exactly.
That's the way it works.
Yep. And a lot of people said it was going to be a bad winter, and so far, I mean, what's going to happen next?
It's been wet.
Yeah.
No, I guess you never know what's coming, and we probably shouldn't say anything because we're going to walk outside and there will be 7 feet of snow. Wait, we're only in here an hour. How did this even happen?
I know, right? Well, it was raining an hour ago.
Yeah. It's Massachusetts. It's completely normal.
Yeah.
Well, Charlie, thank you so much for being on the show today. It was a pleasure having you on.
Thank you.
And we're looking forward to hearing about your next book coming out.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. So for Book Talk, I'm Nikki McGachy.
I'm Charles Smith.